Hello TaleForgers, in this video we'll implement the second type of enemy, jumping enemy. It will hide for a moment and then jump. So let's dive in. Let's start from the code. First of all, create JumpingEnemyState enum with two states, idle and jump. Inside our JumpingEnemyComponentData we need to add some variables. It has public double idle time, public double idle finish time, public jumping enemy state state, and public collision filter ground collision filter. This data will be necessary to implement jump and idle actions. So let's go to the JumpingEnemyAuthoring. Here let's add 3 new serialized fields, 1 for idle time and 2 for the collision filter. So ground belongs to and ground collides with. Of course, don't forget to create getters for these variables. Then, in the bake method, let's pass these parameters to the JumpingEnemyComponentData. Finally, we can implement JumpingEnemyAISystem. Let's start with adjusting entity query. We want to add physics collider because we need to detect collision with the ground. Next, physics mass and physics velocity to apply linear impulse, so our jump. And local transfer to synchronize manage component position with entity current position. Also, let's add state.requireForUpdate for physics word singleton and end simulation entity command buffer system.singleton. Then let's copy and paste get entity command buffer from the MovingEnemyAISystem and cache it in the onUpdate method. Before we move on, I want to implement all methods. So let's copy and paste is grounded from the MovingEnemyAISystem. For now, let's just change MovingEnemyComponentData to the JumpingEnemyComponentData. And also remove X-shift for this case. IsGrounded method could be exposed as a utils function. In the refactor at the end of the series, I will polish this code. Let's adjust a value of the raycast input end, so change to f to 1.5f. Next, let's create new method, private void sync manage position with 2 parameters, enemy manage component data and local transform. We want to simply set enemy manage component data.transfer.position to the local transform.position. Then let's implement idle function with ref system state, jumping enemy component data, enemy manage component data, entity, ref physics velocity, in physics mass, and entity command buffer. First of all, let's cache time to end idle state, so JumpingEnemyComponentData.idle finish time minus systemapi.time.elapsed time. So if time to end idle state less equals 0, call jump and pass all necessary parameters. We will implement jump method in a moment. Now let's prepare set idle method. We need 4 parameters, ref system state, jumping enemy component data, entity, and entity command buffer. Inside this function, let's change enemy state to the idle. Then calculate idle finish time. It is systemapi.time.elapsed time plus JumpingEnemyComponentData.idle time. Remember to call ecb.setComponent to propagate changes. Finally, it's time to implement jump method. We need JumpingEnemyComponentData, enemy manage component data, entity, ref physics velocity, enphysicsMass, and entity command buffer. First, call EnemyManageComponentData.Animator.setTrigger so our animation will start working. Second, change enemy state to jump. Of course, set JumpingEnemyComponentData via ECB. We want to apply our jump force to the enemy, so let's call physicsVelocity.applyLinearImpulse. Pass physicsMass and new float 3, 0, JumpingEnemyComponentData.jumpForce, 0. Remember to set physicsVelocityComponentData to make our changes take effect. Now let's go back to the onUpdate, and inside for each we want to cache via state.entityManager.getComponentData, JumpingEnemyComponentData, physicsVelocity, physicsMass, and local transform. I want to sync manage position, but only when enemy is during jump. So let's check if mat.length_square physicsVelocity.linear is greater than 0.1. If so, update position and continue. Then, if enemy is not grounded, continue. Finally, if our enemy state is equal to jump, we can set state to idle because he just finished jump action. At the end, let's call idle method with all the necessary parameters so enemy can wait for idle to finish and start jumping again. Okay, it's time to return to the Unity editor. We need to set parameters in the JumpingEnemy prefab. First of all, let's change jump force to 100 and idle time to 2. Next, let's set ground belongs to the enemy and ground collides with to the ground. In the physics body component, let's set inertia to the infinity. We don't want our enemy to randomly rotate by a few degrees after the physics calculations, so we freeze rotation. Okay, let's press play. Go to the level scene. As you can see, our jumping enemy is working as expected. Awesome! I would like to invite you to support us on the Patreon, where you can get the exclusive code, all models, materials or code used in this series, and access to early available content. Link in the description. Thank you for your time, I'm glad you are with us and our community is growing. See you soon in the next video.